Welcome everybody to WiC Live. I am Kayla Dan alongside my co-host Dan Selke or Maneris Selke, take your pick.
I fooled you, Kayla. I'm actually Dan Selke, but I'm dressed as Daenerys Targaryen. Did you recognize me?
I did not.
Yes,
We're celebrating Halloween today at the office, and Dan.
I mean, I have not. I haven't gone all out. That's a lie. I got a white wig at a store, and look, I got Drogon and Rhaegal on my shoulders.
I love it.
Viserion's dead, so he's elsewhere. But yeah, I'm showing my Halloween spirit. I am Maneris Targaryen, if you will. Get it? Because I'm a man.
And you can also be Daenerys Targaryen.
I'm not gonna lie. I could. Daenerys Targaryen.
Daenerys.
It works really nicely. And I'm not gonna lie. Hey, Julie, do you like my costume, Julie? This is barely a costume. And I'm not gonna lie. I feel pretty powerful.
Really?
I think so.
More
yeah.
so than usual, because you have a lot of power in this office.
I do. I like throw it around a lot. I'm pretty terrifying. Everyone here is afraid of me. But I feel more powerful than usual. Yeah, like I could be a leader of men.
You kind of look like Rob Ryan.
Who?
He's a football coach.
Okay. Really? A football coach with this long hair?
Yeah.
Damn, really?
Not that long, maybe, but long. Like at least shoulder length.
All right, impressive. All right. It's a bit messy to be Dan, says Julie. I'll take it. And you are a fashion-forward pumpkin.
I'm a business pumpkin.
Business pumpkin, I love it.
I brought a few outfits, but I never changed because I'm lazy.
Yeah, it works out.
I had
think this is
Cher
really classy.
from Clueless. I have that outfit. And then I also brought just a onesie to be comfortable and say I'm a leopard.
Beautiful. But that's beside the point. We're here to discuss, as usual, Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, what's going down, what's going up, what's happening, and all that good jazz. We're going to dive right in. Kayla, see the thing that's happening in Game of Thrones Season 8 filming. It's begun.
It has.
It has. It started up this Monday. It began. It was
Ready or not, here it comes.
Here it comes. It was delayed a little bit by Hurricane Ophelia.
Just kidding.
Well, sure. Eventually that'll pop up. Competing. It was delayed a little bit by Hurricane Ophelia, which turned into Storm Ophelia. So they were going to start, I think, last week, but they had to push it back because, you know, when a hurricane hits Northern Ireland and you can't build your sets, you can't really work.
Right.
So, but it's off and running now, and there are plenty of folk who have been spotted in the area. Everyone from Kit Harington, Sophie Turner, Liam Cunningham, Nathalie Emmanuel, Grey Worm, Gilly, Gendry, Brienne, Jan Royce. All the people are there. They're all going to start up. And we have one picture I'd like to show you guys of the Winterfell set at Money Glass, which is where they filmed Winterfell. We have that on the screen. See it here?
I do.
Now, what's interesting about this picture, Kayla, for Game of Thrones Season 8 filming, is that, give me a sec.
Oh yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Happy Halloween. Happy pre-Halloween. Is that, in the past, whenever they built the Winterfell set, they don't include kind of the front, the towers and the crenellations, or the battlements, old-fashioned medieval word. Yeah, it's a thing that like they stand on to like look down.
Okay.
Are either filmed elsewhere or they are CGI'd in, because you don't really. A castle has them, like an actual castle, but building them's expensive, and they don't need to do it. But in this little set, they've built them. Got the towers, got the crenellations. What do you think that means?
That they're actually going to destroy it?
Something like that, I think so. That they're going to actually use it.
Am I right? Oh.
I mean, we can't know for sure.
Of course they can use CGI for anything, but
I mean, they're
why
pretty
would they
smart.
actually build it this time versus not in the past?
That's the question. And I think you're right. I mean, yes, they can use CGI, but I think we've gotten to a point in filmmaking now, and they're always smart about this, where CGI just doesn't work for some stuff. It doesn't work as well. Mm-hmm. Like, people know if you really want to sell something, you're going to need to have like a close-up of it, people interacting with it, and you need that to land, you need to build it. Because it's going to look fake.
This?
Winterfell.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's where Sansa and Jon are. That's where the White Walkers are coming.
I don't want anything to happen to their castle.
I mean, you know that's where that's like ground zero though, right?
Right.
Because the White Walkers are walking down there and they're pretty close.
Yep.
So what it tells me is that if they're actually building it, there's going to be some stuff going down on it, because why else would they bother? Hello, Renee. Good to see you. Do you like my costume? Do you think it? Am I her?
Am I her?
Anyway, so they built the Winterfell crenellations and the towers, which is very neat, and I think that means they're going to actually use them in a way they haven't before. They'll actually have actors interacting with them. It is pretty cool. And we'll see where that goes. And Oh, one other thing before we move on to some other funner stuff. The cast members are being pretty quiet. I will say, we haven't gotten much out of anybody. I think they're really hunkering down this year and just being absolutely sure nothing gets out. They seem to be in a pretty tight gag order.
I have a question about that. So like with the recent engagements of Kit Harington and Sophie Turner.
Sure.
Do you think they tell their significant others? Joe Jonas?
And Rose Leslie? I don't know. I mean,
because if I were the fiance or girlfriend or whatever to whoever, I would totally be asking. And I'd be really mad if they didn't tell me, because then I'd be like, is this a trust issue?
I mean, there are people
you don't trust me with your secrets?
You know what? There's a story. The producer, David Benioff, is married to Amanda Peet, the actress.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, she's good. And I remember back when Jon Snow died, there's a story that she threatened to divorce him if he didn't come back alive. So apparently he kept things from her, so it's possible.
I'm just curious.
I don't know. If you've married or engaged to somebody, I think you trust them enough to keep your secrets. Unless you know they can't.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Kayla, I don't know their interior lives. I mean...
Why not, Dan? Get in there.
That's... There's a point where it becomes weird. We're already bracing on that point. I can't go any further. Bug their house. That would be weird and illegal.
Yeah, yes.
But yeah, they're in a tight gag order. And but there was one interesting bit. Kit Harington gave an interview because whenever someone gets to sit down with him, it always comes up. He has a new show called Gunpowder, about the gunpowder plot to blow up the Houses of Parliament in the 18th century.
Whoa.
Which is, a real historical event, pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he said that when he read all the scripts the table read, he cried at the ending.
Oh.
I think that's pretty good. That could mean a lot of things. That's sweet.
Didn't he say, though, it was just because it's been 8 years of his life?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not like...
It wasn't like one certain thing.
It's not because he read,
his death.
Somebody dies and he just gets upset. He said that, which makes perfect sense. It's been 8 years of his life. It's the end of an era in anybody's
Not
life.
Just any era, the biggest in television era.
I mean, also for him, it's his 20s. It's the show that launched his career. It's going to be emotional.
A lot of things changing in his life.
Or everybody dies at the end and he was upset.
Right.
We can't know for sure. All right. Really quickly, because it's Halloween here, this is a spooktacular, and not just a normal show. I thought we'd go over quickly some of the Game of Thrones themed Halloween costumes floating around out there. And if any of you guys out there, by the way, are planning to go as any Game of Thrones characters, send us pictures. I think it'd be fun. Email us on Facebook, just message us, we'll check them out. We can put them on WiC Live, we can put them on the site, on WiC. But right now, let me know what you think of some of these. Okay, let's rate these Game of Thrones Halloween costumes on a scale of 1 to 10. We have singer Jason Derulo.
Jason Derulo.
Do you know him? I don't know him that
I'm
well.
aware of him, yeah.
Okay. Wiggle. I look at some of his music. He performed at the Maxim Halloween
Wiggle,
party.
Wiggle.
I don't think that's the one.
Oh.
But something like that. As the Night King. He performed as this. He got up on stage and sung his songs.
Really?
Yeah. That's pretty commitment.
That's pretty good. I think another athlete, Carmelo Anthony, I think he dressed up as the Night King.
It's everywhere, man. I give him a solid 9. I don't know how you do better than that.
That's pretty good.
It looks great. He gotten prosthetics. He's wearing the proper armor. Looks a little bulky, but I'm not here to judge Jason Derulo. So he looks great. It's a 9. How about this? We got Kelly Ripa and Ryan Seacrest.
Love them.
Exactly. Oh, Daniel Smith. Hello. Nice hair, Dan. Thank you, Daniel Smith. I grew it myself. That's a lie. I bought this. I can't lie to you. But thank you for the compliment. This is Kelly Ripa and Ryan Seacrest as
Cersei and Jaime.
I think it's Daenerys.
Daenerys and Jaime.
Yeah, that's Daenerys' outfit.
Just kidding. Yeah, Cersei is short hair.
Little
now.
clasp. And Jaime. Although, he's with Jaime, so that makes sense. Yeah, they look pretty good too for their Halloween special with Live with Ryan and Kelly.
He's got his arm.
Got his gold hand. Looking very nice.
Very good.
I also give them a 9. I didn't put any
He's got the hair down too.
And yeah, he does. Oh, it's a good point. He didn't put it up.
Yeah, no.
He put it down in Jaime's style. Very nice. Actually, it even kind of looks like him in the face department.
I was going to say, it is pretty good.
Yeah, that's actually quite good. Ryan Seacrest. Is there anything he can't do? And finally, I found this one on Reddit. I loved this one. This is a woman who went by the name of Kitty Cats Yeah on Reddit.
Kitty Cats Yeah.
In her Daenerys costume. I mean, mine's better, but dressed up her horse as Drogon. That's pretty cool.
That is good. That's next level.
She even put wings on him.
That is elaborate.
That is very elaborate.
This one took some time. I wonder if the horse enjoyed it.
I don't know. I don't think the horse felt much of anything while it was being dressed in wings. I love the commitment, though. I wonder where she could go with that.
She's got the blue dress, the boots, like, she's got everything down.
Yeah, season 3 Danny looks very nice, but mostly I'm really way into that horse.
I wonder if she rode it. That would be cool.
Be great. And like she could like hold a lighter in front of her where she goes. And I give that one a 10. Excellent work.
Kitty cats, yeah.
Kitty cats, yeah. Good job, kitty cats, yeah. On Reddit. What do you give my outfit?
10. Obs.
Yeah, obs.
Avi.
I wish I would have gotten something else.
If
all right.
we did try to plan in advance, and it was just like.
I mean, I'll tell you this.
I mean, by advance, I mean 2 days.
If you guys are looking at going to Game of Thrones for, I mean, there are remarkable people who do Game of Thrones cosplay. They are amazing at what they do. Mm-hmm. They put together these incredible outfits. I've seen them at cons. They're ridiculous. It's kind of hard to find, in my experience, just like off the rack stuff.
Yeah.
You'd figure it would be easier. Like they have lots of Star Wars stuff, lots of superhero stuff, no Game of Thrones stuff.
Who? Like costume
like
stores?
Target costume stores. I went to a couple to see what I could find.
I'm always the one that's last minute. I finally just cave and buy the $80 costume in a bag, and then it's just, you wear it one night and then you're done.
Right. So I have a huge respect for anybody who does cosplay. If anybody out there does cosplay, congrats to you. And again, if any of you are going to dress up for Halloween's Game of Thrones characters, or even whatever, send it on in. We can show it on here. All right, Kayla, we've now arrived at the portion of the show.
This was fun, Dan.
I think so. Thanks for coming. I'll see you soon.
Me.
We're now going to do a Song of Dan and Josh, which is our weekly segment. Thank you. Oh, there you are. All right. Where Halloween. Josh Hill and I, it's Halloween, and you are dressed as a sleepy man.
I am, also known as Mark Carmen.
Carmen. Who, is he here?
He's not.
Okay.
Because he's sleeping somewhere.
Gotcha.
Very fun to be here on Halloween.
Right? Yeah, I like it a lot.
I do. I mean, I can't do this is fantastic.
Thank you. I worked really hard on it. Anyway, Josh, what we do every week here on Song Dan and Josh is go over new chapters of A Song of Ice and Fire.
Indeed.
Josh is reading it for the first time. I've read it a couple of times already. We're going to break down the chapters for you. What did we think? What jumped out at us? What were the themes? This is our first time that we've done a drinking episode with Josh, which I'm excited about.
I mean, I've done I was on one of the winners.
Oh, you're right. We drank every time, didn't we?
When we did that, but it needs to make a comeback.
All right, Josh. So we read 2 chapters of A Game of Thrones, the first book in the series, this week.
We did.
We read Ned 2 and Jon Snow 1. Let's start with the first Ned chapter, where basically King Robert comes to Winterfell to ask Ned to become his hand. What jumped out at you from this one?
I mean, this one felt the most like the show to me. I remember the scene. Yeah, it was in like one of like the dining halls or something.
Yeah, it was the first episode. It was the first episode.
Yeah, so this one felt the most like the show to me, and I was again picturing the characters just like I did before. But I liked it. I liked the first Ned chapter because we got the perspective from with like Catelyn and everybody like that. Mm-hmm. So that was nice. I did like this one, our introduction. Is this the introduction to Robert Baratheon?
This is the introduction to Robert Baratheon, Jaime Lannister, Tyrion Lannister, the Hound, Joffrey, and Cersei.
Oh yeah.
They all are like introduced within like a half a page of each other.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm thinking back on it is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Like that all of those characters are hugely important.
Uh-huh.
And they're all just like bam, 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 bam.
Yeah, and it made me think of like the world building that we were doing in the other chapters, where
right.
It was like, here's the magic, here's, all these King's Landing and everything else that we were talking about, and then this was the character world building, which I really liked. And I'm a big fan of Jaime, so it was nice to see Jaime. I thought he was going to get a lot of these characters. I assumed from the show that they were going to get introduced in their own chapters, right, because they are so big. But here it was Joffrey and Jaime and all these characters. The Hound, another favorite, getting just lumped in there. So.
Yeah, Cersei's there. What I really liked about that, and I'm thinking about it as I read back, is again how smart this perspective thing is, because these are all hugely important characters, but because we're seeing them from Ned's perspective, we get no indication of that.
Yep.
They're just faces in a crowd.
Exactly.
That's all. In fact, I love the first little bit, like he Like literally Tyrion, Jaime, the Hound, Joffrey all pass in like a sentence, but then he spends like half a page describing Robert and how fat he's gotten and how like the years taking a toll on him. And it's because we're in Ned's head, so naturally he's gonna be more interested in what his old friend looks like, what all these weird people he doesn't really know that well look like. And I think that's really great, like dramatically, because you can introduce these hugely important people, but your readers won't know they're important until you want them to be. And the show is a little different because, I don't know, you can't help but like, do a hero shot of Jaime on a horse or something because he's important. You're going to make him seem he's important. But you can hide it in a book that way, which is really, really interesting.
I like that. And then also like, establishing the relationship between Robert and Ned, which I know is important because of the events of the show, and it's a big thing. And I did like that, especially when he was describing how he got fat and stuff like that. I was like, oh yeah, this is again, going back to subtly throwing in the exposition, not coming out with it. It's like, oh yeah, these guys go way back. He knows him well enough and long enough to be like, oh man, he's put on a few. And I did agree with you. One of the things that I noted was the perspective of the different characters and how we've got these big time characters that are just kind of background. And it also helps you, or at least to me, helped me figure out how Ned feels about these characters, because I do know that they're big characters, throughout Westeros, and we've got Jaime and Joffrey, and there's kind of like almost background characters to Ned, which to me got across. He doesn't really think highly of these people, which was established earlier when we talked about the Lannisters weren't good people. That was established. This furthers that along to be like, they're here's the king's hand and all this stuff, and the king, and it's just whatever. He's background noise, so or the king to be. So
I love that. I mean, it's even you can kind of see. Because we know what's going to happen to him, like indications of where he's going. Like I thought it was interesting that when he meets Cersei, like in the book, he says that Cersei talked about like asked Robert not to go down the crypt so quickly. Like in the show, she actually says those lines. But in the book, she's not even given like quotation marks. Like Ned just says what she said in like summary form. Because he's not thinking about her. And he's going to underestimate her up to the moment she puts him in prison and kills him.
It's true.
Which is, I love it. I love how kind of subtle that is. By the way, little comments here. Julie Davies says that, of course, Mark is off somewhere sleeping.
Exactly.
So, Julie,
she gets it. I was hoping
an honorary member of the fan-sided team.
All right.
And Renee David Ryan Tracy has a long-standing controversy. It's Cersei, not Cersei.
I have wondered that.
You are right. It is Cersei, and even I fall into that trap sometime.
Because they say Cersei on the show.
Yeah, they do.
I feel like now that I think about it, I've heard different characters say different versions of it, but I always assume that came down to dialect, so different kind of like accents throughout Westeros.
Yeah, it's hard to even how they say. But yeah, we will try our best to say Cersei.
Cersei.
Because that is how it is said. We're like, no, we don't really care about it that much. And Daniel Smith says he hasn't read the books because he finds them hard to read. I mean, they are laborious. They're long. I recommend them, Daniel. If you can do it, if you can stomach it, they're a good time.
I've never read them before, Daniel. We're 4 or 5 chapters in. Come read along.
Read them along with us.
Just a couple a week.
We're having a good time. Other than that, I think we should note that we're getting. I mean, this is like 5 seasons before we find out. We're totally getting Jon Snow's real parents' information here. I mean, this is where we get the information about Rhaegar Targaryen. Robert goes down to see Lyanna Stark's statue. That's the mother and father of Jon Snow. And I assume he knew exactly where he was going with that, at least.
I think so.
And it's right here.
Yeah, when I was reading that was the thing that was going to my mind, the R plus L equals J.
Yeah, the whole
so I was like, oh, there it is. And then I was kind of thinking to myself, why was this such a big deal for so long? It's right here. It's not like it's, Luke, I'm your father, that comes out of nowhere. I'm like, he's laying the seeds early on to be like, yes, this is the story. Now, I don't know where it's going, both on the show and in the book, as far as like Jon's parentage and what that means to his overall destiny. But the mystery of his parents, this to me, and it kind of felt nice to get it out of the way. Now, I did know it from the show, but to have it kind of laid out there, I was like, oh, that's subtle. I like that.
So are you saying that you like, that? I mean, like, where it's going? Like, are you saying that you're reading it now and it's seeming obvious to you?
Yeah, and I'm struggling with if it's because I've seen it on the show or if it's because he just kind of lay it out right there. He's like...
I mean, I would say, like, think about what we were talking about. Like, the way that all these important characters just kind of like passing his faces in the crowd. like these books are so long and there's so much in them that like you can just kind of toss off these little bits of lore building. You don't know what's going to be important, what's not going to be.
Right.
So I think it was more like that before the secret got outed by the show. That I mean, yeah, it's there and people did pick up on it, but it's the same thing. It's like Ned not paying attention to Jaime or Cersei or the Hound or Joffrey. It's like it's just something that passes, and he doesn't draw a ton of attention to it.
Yeah.
And so
there, though.
it's
Enough,
there to
enough,
find,
yeah.
which I think is great.
Yeah.
Like that's a good mystery. A mystery is cheap if it solves it with something you couldn't have possibly known.
Yeah.
But it's good if it's there, but you just didn't know which parts to pay attention to. I think it's a little more like this. Although plenty of folk did figure it out ahead of time, so it's not like it was that great of a mystery, but I think it did a good job layering it in. And yes, Renee points out that season 1 has some excellent dialogue from the first book, and yeah, these scenes are pretty much exactly like they are in the book in season 1. And yeah, Kelly Naw says if you can power through the first 200 pages of Song of Ice and Fire, it gets easier. It's an uphill fight until then. Yeah, I mean, I thought they were pretty easy to read, but I recommend anybody who hasn't read them read them because they're a good time.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jon and his parentage, I mean, also just in plot terms, Robert asked Ned to come be the Hand of the King, which we already know. So moving on to Jon's chapter, we get into the first Jon Snow chapter. What'd you think about this one?
I liked it. It's we got our introduction to Jon a couple of chapters ago in the first the Bran episode, the Bran chapter, where he's talking about Jon is very much the darker of the two, and I kind of got a little bit more of that in this chapter. Just kind of the way that Jon thinks, again from his perspective. It's like now again going back to the show, and I try to separate the show and the book as much as I can, but it's like I couldn't help but hear things like, especially in the Bran chapter, where Jon's talking about death and all this existential stuff. And then, I don't know if he does in the book, I'm not sure if that's caught up or not. Does he die in the book and come back, or is that George R.R.
At the book, I'll tell you this, he's died. He has not come back yet.
Come back. Okay.
Basically, the books are where the season 5 cliffhanger, where he's dead, he has not been resurrected.
Okay.
I mean, and again, we're not sure. That's one of the things I'm sure will happen in the book. Like, there are certain things they probably went off on their own. I don't think that's one of them, but go on.
No, because that, again, played into the whole... I could see where George R.R. Martin's going with this. Like, he's laying the seeds now to be like, Jon kind of already thinks this way, and he's trying to power through it because he's got, he's in this family and everything like that, and it's this whole thing. But he's like really deep down this darker, deeper character who's meant to do more. And you can really get that across from, he feels that way, because it's from his perspective, he really feels that he is supposed to be more. It is this lost kind of thing, his bastard son type of thing. So I like that.
It's interesting, because actually, what I got from the chapter that I didn't really get the first time is, he feels like a moody little whiner, a little, not a whiner, but he feels very 14, I thought, in this chapter.
Yeah, I got a really emo Jon Snow feel from this.
Totally emo. What did he do? He drinks like his first drink ever, and he just gets too drunk at the party. This is Jon Snow at the Winterfell feast.
Yep.
He talks about I want to join the Night's Watch, and his uncle's like, you know what that means? And he's like, I want to, and then he gets embarrassed and he starts crying, which is, that's. I mean, crying after you're embarrassed is not something, I guess, boys are expected to do. But if you're that young and you're embarrassed in front of all your friends, it might happen, and you're a little soused. What else did he do? I thought he kind of had a little bit of a man crush on Rob. There's that bit where Rob was walking through the thing with Marcella, and John was like, John thought Marcella was stupid. Rob didn't even know how dumb she was. I thought it's like that thing where you have a close friend and you're that age. Yeah. And someone's stealing him away from you.
Going on there, yeah, I got that.
Which I like that too. And he notices Joffrey is taller than him, to his vast dismay. I thought he came off as really kind of moody in this one, which he is a 14-year-old teenager, so it makes sense.
I kept thinking of Joffrey when I heard I read Jon doing some of these things. I was like, oh man, this seems like a Joffrey thing, like crying at the party and this, all the kind of that. And I also thought of Star Wars when I was thinking of this.
Oh, yeah?
So you've got, although it wasn't played out very well in the prequels, the whole Anakin Skywalker thing is that he is this chosen character to do greater things, but he's also trying to figure out things about himself, and it's very moody. And I did get a whole kind of like that moody kind of, the women and the children,
but again, it's
that kind of thing. But just not knowing how to come out with it and find yourself within yourself.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't know himself yet.
Yeah.
He's 14. Like I thought it was appropriate. Like I thought this is how a 14-year-old would act. It's just weird in the show because he's clearly older than that.
Yeah. He's much stoic in the show too. He's much more, even from the first seasons. I have to go back and rewatch the first seasons, but I seem to remember him always being kind of this stoic character.
He was. Like I can't picture the John from the show like getting embarrassed and crying at a party.
It was almost like a cartoon, like a caricature of it, where it's like you're making fun of him, and it's like I was imagining like the Calvin and Hobbes, where he's just like like sort of like Lucy and Peanuts. He's just like I want it. I'm like, oh man, this is not the Jon Snow that I am picturing.
A little bit, but again,
it was weird picturing Kit Harington doing that.
Yes, you can't picture Kit Harington like breaking down in tears at a party. He's gonna embarrass at a party. It's his party. He wants to, and he can cry if he wants to, but it's not his party. He's. I do think it's interesting though. I think Jon Snow goes on like a bigger arc in the books because he goes from a bit of a moody, petulant teenager to this leader guy. And even though he makes that journey in the show too, I think it's more stark in the books.
Yeah.
No pun intended. The other big idea that came out of this chapter, another bit of world building, although this is kind of what happened in medieval times. The whole idea of bastardry and being a bastard and what that means. In this world, which again, like it's something that before you read these books or watch the show, you wouldn't really think about. Like, why is it significant to be a bastard? But in a society where it's all about inheritance and it's all about who gets to get the father's wealth and his estate when he dies, it matters a ton. Yeah. Because you have to have a rule why people who aren't legitimate can't actually inherit. And it's just interesting that, we get little examples of how John is different from the rest of his family. Oh, yeah. He sits in the back of the hall while all his other siblings sit in the front. Again, he gets to sit with the people and drink a little more than they do. Yeah. So in a way, having a bastard is fun. Being a bastard is fun. But it clearly weighs on him a little bit. Yeah. Like, he says, Rob's going to inherit everything and Bran and Rickon are going to manage Holdfast. Arya and Sansa are going to get married to people, like fat chance of that happening for real. But like, what can I do? I'm going to go join the Night's Watch because that's like the opportunity I have. Yeah. So I think it's interesting that I think Martin does that a lot. Like a lot of these characters they don't fit in into the society. Like we got Daenerys, who any woman doesn't fit into society. Yeah. Like Cersei, Sansa, Arya especially, Brienne, they all fight against the role that's given to them. I mean, I guess Sansa doesn't really fight against it, but she fights against other things. Jon's a bastard, Tyrion's a dwarf, and they underline their connection at the end, where they're both kind of outsiders for different reasons. And Daenerys is, literally an exiled princess. Right. So a lot of the heroes in this story are these outsider types. And Jon is a good example of it because bastards are just born to be outsiders, even if they're secretly Targaryen kings. And
to the point about like the inheritance and stuff with the medieval thing, that ties also back into the fight for the throne. Like, who's the rightful heir to the throne?
The whole thing is a war of secession. That's the whole. That's what happens.
Yeah. So that it's flowing good for me at that point. So
yeah, I like that. And it's also good setup that way because establishing the rules of this society where inheritance is so important is important to knowing why it's going to all fall apart. Yeah. One other thing I want to talk about is Tyrion, kind of our first introduction to him. So in the book, he has mismatched eyes, and he can do tumbling tricks. Did you see that coming?
No, I didn't. I mean, I knew from like those little pictures at the bottom of articles that you read, it's like you'll never guess what the Game of Thrones characters were supposed to look like. That they're not supposed, that they look differently. And then I got that from reading the first couple of chapters where the Stark boys are younger and everybody's a little bit different. But Tyrion seems to be night and day different.
Oh yeah? How so?
Because it's like I guess going back and thinking about where he was at the beginning of the show, because now I'm thinking about the Tyrion now. He was a little bit goofier, not like tumbling trick goofy,
this scene was pretty much in the show word for word. Yeah. Except he doesn't do tumbling tricks.
Yeah, the tumbling tricks is like he's more like buffoonish to me, but
Right.
which isn't Tyrion. But again, you got to have your arc start somewhere. So
I mean, it is Tyrion in the fact that his whole thing is that his father thinks he's a buffoon and that he goes around and whores. And so, like, being a literal clown kind of plays into that. But, I mean, it's just, it's a little silly.
It
so
is.
I don't know even how they would have managed it on the show.
I want to get
How many dwarf tumbling actors are there out there?
I want to get to a Tyrion chapter and see like his perspective from like what if he's like trying to do this from, because judging from him on the show, I would feel like he's doing this clown thing as like a middle finger to Tywin to be like, oh, I'm this clown, here I'll be this clown, I'll tumble for you, father, and kind of stuff like that, and his kind of like way of pushing back against, oh, you think I'm a buffoon? I'll show you a buffoon, I'll whore around and I'll tumble and this kind of stuff. So, but this wasn't a Tyrion chapter. He just came across buffoonish. Which,
But, he did tell me things. He gave Jon some good advice.
yeah.
Like, he said a line from the show, like, don't be ashamed of your bastardy, wear it like armor, no one can hurt you. Which again is this connection of these outsider folk who are different reasons, are all on the outside of society, and Tyrion has found a way to deal with it and is trying to pass that wisdom on to Jon. But the tumbling is stupid.
Not a fan of the tumbling.
There's a whole thing in the books where he was like into, I guess you'll find out, but like acrobatics as a kid, and it's the whole thing just they cut from the show, and I'm happy they cut it from the show.
Yeah,
but
we can do without that.
Yeah. Anything else jumped out at you?
No, I mean, it's look, 2 good chapters. I'm ready to keep going on with this journey. It's good. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I knew I would enjoy the book. I'm not, because I enjoy the show, but I'm enjoying the book more than I thought because it's so rich in detail and it's rich.
It is very
the way
detailed.
it's developing the characters. I'm really liking. I feel like I'm getting more out of these characters from reading them, from literally going inside of their head, than from just kind of surface level on the show where it's like, this is important, listen to this.
Right.
It's like getting them broken down. And then I'm finding myself later and like on this show thinking about things that they thought, and I'm like, oh, that's different. I like that. So.
I think I find that it's very consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, as I read them back, I'm finding that they're a lot denser than I remember, and that I'm impressed by the amount of important stuff he's cramming in here. I'm curious to see where that continues. All right, I'll give you an option, Josh. We could read 2 chapters again next week, Catelyn 2 and Arya 1, or we could do 3, because the third one is the plot kind of gets going. Bran falls out a window.
All right.
So what do you think?
I'm all
2 or
about
3?
I'm all about 3.
Okay, yeah, let's do 3.
Dive into 3.
Let's do 3. Let's do Catelyn 2, Arya, the first Arya chapter, and Bran 2, aka spoiler alert. I don't think it's going to be a spoiler alert. Bran gets pushed out a window, which is really kind of where the first episode ends. It'll take 4 weeks to get the first episode. So next week we'll be back, Wednesday at 4 p.m. I will not be wearing this wig. We will read the next episode of Song of Ice and Fire. We'll have more Game of Thrones news, Song of Ice and Fire news, more commentary, more analysis, more chatting, just more fun. Hope you guys will join us.
All right.